turn our attention now to agriculture. Well, this sector is one of the pillars of the Buhari administration's economic diversification drive.
Yeah, now the race is on to revolutionize the sector and reposition it so that Nigeria can be food sufficient. But how will the ministers ensure that Nigeria moves to the next level in agriculture and take it back to the days of old, that one would say, the good old days? Everyone says that. How do we go back to that time is the big question Nigerians are asking right now. Joining me now is the Managing Director, CEO, Bama Farms Limited, Wale Oyekoya. It's nice to have you join me right now, Wale. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Now, you have a new minister in your sector. I know you've been sitting down and doing permutation, just like everyone else was. Okay, who is going to be in agriculture now? Who is going to be, and all of that, because that's your primary constituency. But first of all, a new minister on the saddle, I guess, and I want to assume that you all know who he is and all of that, talking about his pedigree and so on. What hopes do you have in the Ministry of Agriculture right now that concerns you directly?
Well, the president has spoken, and it's time to get to work. And we're expecting somebody that is going to be a federal minister of the whole of Federal Republic of Nigeria, not just a federal minister of a certain geopolitical zones. Because that is the problem we've been having with this sector, where certain geopolitical zones have been taken care of than the other regions. Yes, there's a very high hope for the new minister, Alhaji Mohammed Sabo Nanono. Yeah. He has been in the public and he has been in the private sectors. So definitely it's not going to be something that's just going to think that it's going to be a problem. And the problem has been there before he's been appointed as a minister. And I'm sure if I'm to give him my own advice, get all the stakeholders together. You have to work with other ministries like the trade and investment, work with the custom, especially with importations of all this unwholesome goods that is coming to the country, because it doesn't all go well for the local content. If our border is not tightened, because we have a whole lot of porous borders, you have to work with the NAFDAC, you have to work with so many regulatory bodies that you have to work with if you are really going to be successful. And at the same time, don't joke with your farmers. Farmers is the only one that can build a nation, because once you're able to feed your people, the rest is history.
All right. Now, the president said recently that Nigeria has attained full food security, which experts have come to say, well, that may not necessarily paint the picture the way it is. But if it is something to go by, the new minister is on board right now, looking forward to a time when they're saying the budget for 2020 should be presented in September and all of that. So it means there's a lot of work to do right now. But what areas, especially when you mentioned the issue of private sector involvement, what area should they be looking at right now in getting them on board?
Definitely have to talk about the technology transfer, because we are really archaic with the way we are doing our agriculture.
But how about the fabrications that Nigerian engineers and Nigerian technicians have been doing?
They have to be retrained. It's just like the auto mechanic we have today, which they are used to the manual transmissions. We are using automatic transmission right now. So they have to be retrained. We have so many schools of technology that could be trained. We have so many fabricators that can be fabricating some of this equipment. We don't have to be going to India or China to bring some of this equipment. If they are properly trained, if they are properly funded. Yes, we are talking about the new minister, what is going to do. Definitely have a lot to do. About the budget you are talking about, he's not really the one to do the budget. The ministries are there to do that for, especially through the permanent secretary. All this have been prepared. You just have to go through that. Where we have to do. They have to visit all the departments, about 40 departments we have in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Parastatus. You have to visit them and see what are they really lacking. And you have to be able to think to reduce the current expenditures. We have to improve on the capital expenditure, not just buy vehicles that are not necessary, not buy equipment that are not necessary. We really need to get to the neck of all these people that listen. It's time for us to work and be able to feed the nation.
Okay. Agriculture used to be the mainstay of Nigerian economy in the First Republic between 1960 and 1966. And We saw a lot of contribution from agriculture. In fact, the whole economy was based on agriculture. And we had the granite pyramid at the time, we had cocoa, we had rubber, oil palm, and so on. How do we go back to, we've had that master plan before. How do we go back to that days?
Nigeria have always have good policy. I keep on saying this. It's just implementations. We have a very good structure on the ground. If not, we would have been the first seventh in the whole world producing some of this farm produce, like talking like granite, cocoa, rubber, all kind of stuff like that. But we can still go back to it if you have a visionary leader. Thank God we have a...
Is the leader now the minister or the leader now is the president in this?
Both of them have to work together. And at the same time, they have to work with the people under them, the civil servants. And at the same time, call the stakeholders of all the departments of all the agriculture. There's no way we are going to be talking about oil this time around because nobody is buying our oil. So we really have to focus on the sector that's giving us the best of employment. If you remember, in the olden days, it used to give us about 70%. Not like now that it's just about 30%. This is the only sector that's going to increase our GDP. And by putting more funding on this thing and inviting private sector, definitely we definitely get there. And at the same time, infrastructure is the key. Without infrastructure, we are not going to get anywhere.
All right, when they talk about the good old days in agriculture that we just mentioned now, we saw that the regions were the champions of those developments we see. Now, we don't have the regions in that regard, in that sense. What is the role of the states now? If you're talking about granite pyramid, for instance, so we had the northern region that was responsible for that. Now we don't have the northern region, but we have at least Katsina State, we have Kano State, we have Kaduna State, we have states within that region that produce granite, or granite as the case may be. Yeah. What can they do together, even without the federal government? There seem to be so much emphasis on the federal government.
Definitely, this is a time for the state to really showcase what they have in their states. And the president already call all the state governors, not even the APC, all the state governors that let everybody go to agriculture. God so good, the 1978 Land Use Act really favored the governors. So why are they sitting down on the lands and not be able to give it to the people that are in it for the agriculture? So definitely, I'm expecting most of the states to form synergy. Look at your state as we are talking right now. It's in Cotonou with all the agri ministry going on retreat. This shows that, yeah, this is a focused governor. I'm expecting more governors like in Lagos State, Ogun State especially, which is about to form his own cabinet, which I believe very soon is going to form it because there's no way he's going to do this thing alone. He needs the cabinet just the same way the president has chosen the cabinet. So if all these states, I'm talking of Southwest governors, and at the same time approach the federal government that, listen, we need especially the tractors to move our agricultural sector forward in the state, then I believe a lot will be done in the Southwest and the South-South.
So we have a Mohammed Nanono taken over from an Audu Ogbe who many lauded his initiatives, but then, you know, still left the industry with challenges and all that. Well, Nanono is a former banker and the farmer as well. But what do you expect him to do differently this time?
Well, he already knows the problems of the sector firsthand. And coming from the private and the public sectors, it shouldn't be a problem to really get together all the stakeholders in the agri sector and other ministries like the trade and investment and the customs, the NAFDAC and the SON and all the stakeholders, especially the Nigeria Export Promotion Council also. But the most important thing is how it's going to really empower and bring wealth back into the sector. Because you see that most of the farmers we have in Nigeria, they are not really doing good. They are not doing well because they have not been mechanized. And most of the things that they've been doing is like they just do it on trial and error because there have been not much improvement either on the aspect of the federal government to really bring so many infrastructures into the sector, like the road security and power.
Right. And but let me cut you and enter 1 second, please. Talking about the farmers now, you've been mindful of the clashes between the herders and the farmers, with herders saying too much support have been given to the farmers already. Maybe that's why this Ruga settlement is still being advocated for in one quarter as against what the rest of Nigeria is advocating for as the way to peace so that we can have enough food to feed all. So over this Ruga thing now, how do you want him to enter and douse tensions?
As I said earlier before, that there has been Ruga everywhere in the country before. If you look at Karas, it's more or less like a Ruga. And there have been very peaceful harmony between the farmers and the herders in the olden days.
Even with Ruga?
Even with the Ruga. So I don't see any reason why we cannot live amicably between the farmers and the herdsmen. And if you look at what is really trending now, is how the herdsmen are having uppercut over the farmer, because the herdsmen are able to carry AK-47, while the farmers like myself are left to protect themselves. So definitely that is why we have food crisis in our hand, because most farmers are not going to the field because they are scared. When the security is not there, this part of the infrastructure, I really want the new Minister for Agriculture to really address, because without security of the people going to the farm, is going to be a problem. Without security of people that are going to add value to the agri-produce, is going to be a problem.
And we have to start from the base, the farmers now,
Yes.
like you are insistent. So what further support can we give the farmers, and how can we ensure peace between the pastoralists and, you know, the other levels?
I expect the state governments to do more this time around to really bail out the federal government, because if you look at the Land Use Act of 1970,
It's their domain.
Yes, it's their domain. Let every state have their own cattle ranches. It's doable. Ogun State have got their own. Lagos State, they can have it. Or your state can. We have all this
We have the land.
And what I really advising the new Minister of Agriculture, Alhaji Mohammed, is to really be a true minister of Federation of Nigeria, not just a minister of a certain geopolitical zones. This is where the problem usually comes from. And I believe if you can concentrate on the crop production in the north, because they have a lot of land in the north, what about the livestock? You can concentrate on the livestock in the south, either the southwest or southeast and the south-south. By so doing, there's going to be a balance between the cropping and the livestock, so that we will not be concentrating only on crops, which is more or less like carbohydrates. What about the protein aspect, which is the livestock? So you need to be balancing it and be able to support all sectors of agriculture, not only on production, on processing, not only on processing, what about the export? And at the same time, marketing also.
What about revitalizing, you know, some other moribund subsectors like cotton, for example? Cocoa used to be our treasure and potential for export. How about that?
All these ones should be done by the states, because they control the lands. The federal, the state, yes. So they should give more power. I will expect the new Minister of Agriculture to call the state minister or the state commissioners for agriculture that, listen, this is what we have at hand. This is what the president have told us, that we should be able to feed ourselves before we can export it. So by so doing, by forming a synergy, I believe a whole lot could be done. But the farmer needs to be respected and be able to fund adequately.
Better synergy. So many points to take home from your analysis. Thank you so much, Wale Oyekoya, for your contributions.
Thank you.